The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to this episode of Disrupt Education. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very special guest, the co-founder and CEO of Lambda School, Austin Allred. Austin, tell us a little bit about you and what you've created.
Thanks for having me. So at Lambda School, we train people to be software engineers and data scientists and designers for no upfront costs in exchange for a share of a person's income for 2 years. By the time this airs, those details may have changed. But yeah, it's entirely online, and we don't get paid until students do.
Can you tell us a little bit about how did you come up with this concept? There's a few. You wrote an article on Medium about some equity and how the world we live in education is changing, and this cost model is very effective of giving everybody a shot at creating and doing some things. Walk us down that path a little bit.
Yeah, so basically, I was living in a small town in Utah, and then ended up taking a job at a startup in San Francisco, and was just really taken aback by the disparity and the opportunity that are afforded to those two various geographies. So we really, said, okay, if we've got a smart person in rural Utah that doesn't have much money, that, are just as capable and talented as a lot of the folks in Utah, how do you get them into a high-paying technology role? And that was the problem we set about solving.
And then, so Lambda School. Tell us a little bit about, if I have a young person or anybody who even went to college or whatnot wants to get into Lambda School, what does that look like, and what are the paths that they need to take?
So we started out just being another online code boot camp. So you pay us $10,000, we'll train you for 3 months and hope it works out on the other side. And we realized that if you are that individual who's just maybe graduated from college or maybe trying to figure out what's next, A, you probably don't have very much money, and B, you don't want to saddle yourself up with a bunch of loans and a bunch of risk. So we kind of just de-risked it up until the point where you can show up at lambdaschool.com, you can apply for our class, and you'll immediately start with our prep work. So that's our, introduction to programming from ground zero. And, if you complete that well, then we'll invite you for an interview. And once you start, it's still completely free. You just start showing up at a different time, and there's an instructor, and it's all very scheduled and organized.
And you are working with some big partners. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the partners that, there's a huge list, but maybe some of the highlighted partners that you're working with, companies that have hired your students and participants?
Oh yeah. We've had students go from everywhere to Google to Amazon to, a person who was stocking shelves at a Home Depot warehouse is now a software engineer at Home Depot. Had students hired at Uber. So really all over the place, and then a lot of companies you've never heard of and small companies. And so yeah, we kind of span the gamut of big to small.
So you obviously are a disruptor of education in a great way, bringing equitable pieces to people. How do you see this going forward, and what kind of changes do you see from this point on? Because it's pretty much you flipped some things on its head and in a very good way, and that competition is actually sparking some interest in not only universities but some venture capitalists. So what kind of things do you see changing coming up in the next year or two?
Yeah, so what we really figured out is the core engine of how to make a risk-free, entirely online education work. So that's pretty difficult to do for a couple of reasons. A few people are going after the risk-free aspect, where you show up in a building in San Francisco for a couple of years and then you pay back after it works. Or even Purdue now lets you use an income share agreement for the entire, undergraduate degree. And there are a lot of schools that are online, so you don't have to move anywhere, so you don't have to, take a geographic risk or any of that. We were, I think, the first to really combine the two, especially at scale, where wherever you are, you can just open up a laptop and we'll take care of everything else. So really, our goal right now is to see how far we can expand that, to see how deep we can drive that. I think we've got an advantage there. I'm sure in the next year we'll see other people doing it, both in other verticals, and some people just trying to do what we're doing exactly. The only way we can be better there is just to be better. So, we'll be expanding geographies. We'll be looking at different types of course content that this style of education might work for. But yeah, overall, we're just going to try to get better and make it a better deal for the student.
I teach high school. I teach high school in business, and many students are, scared of the college debt. Yet that's the only path that they're taking a lot. I mean, I think it's just the traditional path. What would you say would be a great set of skills that a high school student would need to be successful in Lambda School?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is just being able and willing to work and show up consistently, and do the same thing day in and day out. That's a surprisingly rare skill in this day and age. So if you can give me somebody who will show up and will do the work and doesn't need to be babied all along the way, then I can give you a software engineer. If you give me somebody who has to be encouraged to work or, needs external requirements, then we can still do it. It's just more difficult. As cliche as it sounds, the most important thing for us is somebody who is gritty and hardworking, and we can take care of the rest.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Austin, for your time today. If people want to find out more about Lambda School, where are they actually going to look?
Lambdaschool.com would be the place.
Simple and effective. So check out lambdaschool.com. Thank you so much, Austin, for being on the podcast vlog with us today. We will be watching and see how much you're growing into basically Lambda Next, which is a couple of other things that you're putting together. But we look forward to seeing you continue to disrupt education, and thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you next time on Disrupt Education.